Welcome back to Steve and Abby English, everyone. I am Steve.
And I am Abby. We are so happy to have you here hanging out with us today.
Today we are talking about something that makes almost everyone sweat. Just thinking about it might make your heart beat a little faster.
Oh, definitely. We're talking about public speaking. You know that universal dread of standing in front of a room full of people, looking out at the crowd and feeling your hands shake?
It is terrifying. Even for native speakers, getting up on a stage or standing at the front of a boring meeting room is super scary. Your mouth gets dry and your knees feel weak.
Exactly. And when you are doing it in a second language, the pressure feels like it is doubled. You worry about grammar, pronunciation, and just making sense to everyone listening. It can really mess with your confidence.
But here is the good news. You do not need big fancy words to be a great speaker. In fact, ditching complex jargon and using simple, everyday English is actually the secret to delivering a powerful presentation.
Yes! Simple words and purposeful pauses can instantly improve your presentation skills. Honestly, when people talk really fast using huge vocabulary words, I usually just stop listening.
Me too. We want to help you master public speaking without freaking out. And because native speakers do tend to talk fast when they get nervous, you might miss a few words in today's episode.
That is such a good point. If you ever feel like you are missing the fast parts of our conversation, you should definitely use the free full-text transcript. It is located right down in the show description.
Yes, having that transcript open while you listen is a huge help. It makes following along with the new vocabulary so much easier. You can pause, read the words, and really hear how we link our sentences together.
It is just a great tool for overcoming that feeling of being lost when native speakers talk at normal speed. And speaking of feeling completely lost, I have a story about a time I was standing in front of a crowd, and things did not go well.
Oh no, I am already getting nervous for you. I know you hate speaking in front of big classes.
I really do. It might feel challenging at first to talk about our failures, but it is completely normal to struggle.
Absolutely. All right, let us jump right into today's first real talk.
Okay, so this happened back when I was in college. I was taking this huge speech class, and it was the final project of the entire semester. The grade was worth half of our total score, so the pressure was insane.
Oh man, high stakes.
Exactly. I was spending way too much time preparing. I was skipping lunch to review my notes. I was literally practicing my speech in front of my bathroom mirror every single night for a week. I wanted it to be absolutely perfect.
Wow, that is some serious dedication. I usually just winged my college presentations, which was probably not a great idea either. But at least it kept me from overthinking every single sentence before I even started speaking.
I was doing the opposite of winging it. I had these little white index cards, and I wrote out every single word I wanted to say. I was trying to memorize the whole thing perfectly.
That sounds like a trap.
It really was. Memorizing a script is dangerous. Anyway, the day of the presentation finally arrives. I was sitting at my desk in the classroom, drinking way too much coffee, and my hands were visibly shaking. I was gripping my pen so hard, my knuckles were turning white.
Classic mistake. Too much caffeine makes the nerves so much worse.
I know! I was just sweating in my seat while I watched the other students go. Finally, the professor calls my name. I grabbed my cards and walked up to the front of the room.
I am holding my breath right now.
I walked up there, looked out at 30 tired college students, and then I looked down at my first card. I opened my mouth to speak, and my mind just completely shut down.
Oh no.
I experienced the worst feeling ever. I managed to completely go blank right in front of everyone. Not a single word would come out of my mouth.
That is literally my worst nightmare. When you go blank, it feels like your brain just unplugs from the wall.
It was awful. I was just standing there in total silence for what felt like 10 minutes, though it was probably only 10 seconds. The silence in the room was so heavy and awkward.
10 seconds feels like an absolute lifetime when you are up there alone.
It really does. I was staring at my index cards, but the words just looked like random shapes on the paper. I could not read them. I could feel my face getting super hot and red. I was sure everyone could see how much I was panicking inside.
I hate that feeling. Did you just run out of the room? I probably would have walked right out the door and dropped the class.
I really wanted to run away, but I realized I had to do something. So I closed my eyes for a second, put my hands on the table, and I told myself to just take a deep breath.
Good move. Damage control.
Yes. I let the air out slowly, and I decided to put the cards down on the podium. I stopped trying to remember the exact script I wrote in my dorm room.
Pushing the script away takes real guts.
It was scary, but it saved me. Instead of giving my perfect formal speech, I just started talking to the class like they were my friends sitting in a coffee shop.
That is always the best approach.
I just explained my main idea using really simple words. It was not pretty, but I survived. I ended up getting a decent grade, but the fear of that silence still haunts me sometimes.
Hold on. Before we go further, you just used some great words there. Let us get into our real talk breakdown. Welcome to the breakdown. Today we are looking at 3 everyday phrases Abby used to describe her terrifying college speech. The first phrase is, to go blank.
Yes, to go blank. This is such a natural way to say that you suddenly forgot everything you wanted to say. Textbooks might teach you to say, I experienced temporary memory loss, but that sounds way too formal and robotic for a casual chat. Native speakers almost never talk like that.
Exactly. Saying you go blank paints a very clear picture. It feels like someone just turned off a TV screen in your mind. It makes you sound much more human and relaxed when you admit your struggles this way.
Totally. Here's an example. I was introducing my best friend at a party, but I managed to go blank and completely forgot her last name.
Oh, that is so embarrassing. But it happens. Here is another example. During my big job interview, the manager asked a tough question, and my mind decided to just go blank.
It happens to all of us. Don't be hard on yourself. Muscle memory with English takes time. The second phrase I used was shut down. I said my mind just completely shut down.
We use shut down all the time in normal conversations. Formally, you might say, my cognitive functions ceased operating. But we are not robots. Using shutdown compares your brain to a computer that just suddenly turns off because it is overloaded.
Right. It feels very relatable and casual. Here's my example. After studying English grammar for 6 hours straight, my brain finally decided to shut down.
Great example. We use it for machines and for people. Here is mine. The old office laptop got way too hot and decided to shut down right before I saved my important document.
Ugh, I hate when technology does that. Our last phrase is take a deep breath. I said I told myself to just take a deep breath.
This is such a comforting phrase. Instead of saying, inhale oxygen to reduce your physical stress levels, we just say, take a deep breath. It shows a simple physical action that helps you calm down, focus, and reset your nervous energy.
Using action phrases like this really connects you with the listener. It is highly empathetic. My example is, whenever you feel angry at a coworker, you should pause and take a deep breath before speaking.
Excellent advice. My example would be, I had to take a deep breath before opening the email with my final medical test results.
That is a scary moment for sure. Okay, now that we have got those words down and practiced them, let us look at the flip side in Real Talk 2. I'm excited to hear your perspective.
So while your problem was going completely silent, my problem was the exact opposite. A few years ago, I had to give a massive business pitch to some potential new clients.
Oh, a business pitch. High pressure.
Extremely high pressure. Our company really needed this account to hit our goals. I spent weeks putting together this massive slide deck filled with complicated charts, long graphs, and a ton of data points.
Data can be so boring to look at.
Exactly. I thought showing them all these numbers would make me look super smart and perfectly prepared. On the morning of the pitch, I was sitting alone in the big glass conference room waiting for them, just nervously tapping my pen on the wooden table.
Tapping your pen is such a classic nervous habit. I do the exact same thing when I'm stressing out before a meeting or a doctor appointment.
I could not stop tapping it. My foot was shaking too. The clients finally walked in, and they were wearing these incredibly expensive, sharp suits. They looked very intimidating and serious.
Scary clients. That is exactly why I hate the corporate world sometimes. The pressure to look perfect is just way too intense.
So, I stood up, cleared my throat, and started my presentation. But because I was so incredibly nervous, I started talking way too fast. I subconsciously just wanted to get it over with and sit back down.
Speeding through it never works. You think you are saving time, but really you are just confusing everyone.
No, it absolutely does not work. I was flying through the colorful slides, throwing out endless statistics and really dry facts. I realized I started to ramble on without taking a single breath or pause.
Oh no! Rambling is so dangerous. When people ramble on, they lose the audience completely because there is no space to think. Did they look confused?
They looked worse than confused. They looked completely bored and checked out. I noticed one guy in the back actually checking his phone under the table.
Checking the phone is the ultimate insult.
It hurt my pride for a second. But then I realized the problem was me. I was just hitting them with a solid wall of dense information. There was no human story, no emotion, just me talking endlessly.
Just boring facts. Nobody remembers a spreadsheet. They only remember how you made them feel during the meeting.
Right. So, halfway through the presentation, I decided to do something crazy. I actually walked over and turned off the projector. The big screen went black, and the room got incredibly quiet.
Wow, that is a bold move. I would be terrified to turn off my slides in the middle of a big corporate pitch.
It was a massive risk. I stepped away from the dark screen and just asked them a simple question about their biggest daily struggle at work.
Getting them to talk. Smart.
It completely changed the heavy energy in the room. I stopped trying to sound like a smart textbook. Instead, I told a short, relatable story about a similar problem our own team faced last year.
Stories always connect people better.
They really do. By simply slowing my pace down and having a real human conversation, I managed to win over the entire room. They suddenly started nodding, leaning forward, and asking genuine questions.
That is a huge relief.
It was a great feeling. We ended up getting the big account, but I learned a massive lesson that day. Talking way too much and too fast is just as bad as going blank.
That is such a different vibe from my story. But wait, I heard you drop some interesting phrases there. Time for our second Real Talk breakdown.
Welcome back to the breakdown. That business story was wild. but you use three amazing everyday expressions. The first one is stressing out. Abby, you said you do this before a meeting.
Yes, stressing out. Textbooks usually teach you to say, I'm experiencing anxiety right now, but that sounds way too formal. Native speakers just say they are stressing out. It shows that panicked feeling in a casual way.
Exactly. It paints a picture of someone worrying way too much about something. And remember, it might feel strange at first to use these phrasal verbs, but that is totally normal. Learning takes time. I was stressing out about cooking dinner for my new neighbors because I am a terrible cook.
That is a great example. Cooking for people is always scary. Here's my example. My sister was stressing out about finding a parking spot downtown before her big concert.
Oh, city parking is the worst. Our second phrase is, get it over with. In my story, I said I just wanted to get it over with and sit down.
I love this one. If you want to be formal, you would say, I wanted to finish the unpleasant task quickly. But saying get it over with is so much more human. We use this when we have to do a boring chore and we just want to push through the pain.
It is a highly relatable feeling. We all have things we just want to get over with. For example, I always wash the dirty dishes right after dinner just to get it over with.
I need to start doing that. I always procrastinate with dishes. Here's my sentence. I went to the dentist early on Saturday morning just to get it over with and enjoy my weekend.
Very smart move. Our final phrase today is checked out. I said the clients in the meeting looked completely bored and checked out.
Right, to be checked out. Formally, you might say someone is no longer paying attention, but saying they are checked out compares their brain to a hotel guest who already left the building. Their body is in the room, but their mind is completely gone.
It is such a perfect visual. When you use this phrase, people instantly understand that tired blank stare. Here is my example. By the time Friday afternoon arrives, half the people in our office are completely checked out.
That is so true. Everyone is just staring at the clock. Here is my example. I tried to watch a long documentary about rocks last night, but I checked out after 5 minutes and fell asleep on the couch.
I do not blame you. That sounds incredibly boring. We have covered some great expressions today, but there are a few sneaky traps you need to watch out for. Let us jump into common mistakes and make sure you do not get them wrong. Now, let us talk about where people usually get this wrong. Welcome to Common Mistakes. Learning these phrases is great, but there are a few common traps.
Exactly. The first trap is with the phrase, take a deep breath. Learners often say, I need to make a deep breath, or do a deep breath.
Right, that is the trap. The fix is to always use the verb take. You want to say, I need to take a deep breath.
The reason why is simple. In English, we treat a breath like an object that you grab and pull inside your body. You do not make it, you take it.
That makes total sense. Moving on to our second mistake. It involves the phrase, go blank. Many people say, my mind became blank, or I went blanked, with an ed at the end.
Oh, I hear that all the time. The fix is to just say, my mind went blank, or I completely went blank.
The why here is that blank is an adjective, not a verb. You do not add an ed. Just change the verb go into the past tense, which is went.
It is so much easier that way. Our last trap involves stressing out. A common mistake is adding the word myself. People say, I am stressing out myself before the test.
Yes, drop the word myself. The fix is simply, I am stressing out.
The why is because the phrasal verb stressing out already includes your internal feelings. You do not need a reflexive pronoun. Adding myself just sounds clunky and unnatural.
Good to know. Let us do a rapid review. Do not say make a deep breath. Say take a deep breath.
Do not say my mind became blank. Say my mind went blank.
And do not say I am stressing out myself. Say I am stressing out. And that is how you use them. But how does this compare to school? Let us check out textbook versus real life. Welcome to Textbook versus Real Life. Today we have 5 great examples showing the difference between standard textbook sentences and natural, everyday spoken English. Textbook English is 100% understandable, so do not be hard on yourself if you currently use it.
Exactly. It is totally fine. We just want to help you sound a bit more casual and relaxed.
Example 1. Textbook says, I forgot what I wanted to say.
Real life says, I completely went blank.
Saying you went blank is much more visual and dramatic for a casual story. Example 2. Textbook says, I was feeling very nervous about the meeting.
Real life says, I was stressing out about the meeting.
Stressing out is an active phrasal verb that everyone uses daily. Example 3. Textbook says, I wanted to finish the presentation quickly.
Real life says, I wanted to get it over with.
Getting it over with shows true emotion and relief. Example 4. Textbook says, I talked for a long time without stopping.
Real life says, I started to ramble on.
Ramble on perfectly describes talking in circles. And example 5. Textbook says, the audience stopped paying attention.
Real life says, the audience completely checked out.
Checked out is absolutely the best way to describe that bored, tired look on a person's face. All right, you have heard us talk enough today. It is time to build that muscle memory. Let us jump straight into the shadowing practice.
Welcome to the shadowing practice. Here is a quick pro tip before we begin. Make sure you hit the pause button after you hear each sentence and try to repeat it out loud at your own comfortable pace.
That is the absolute best way to practice. Our first sentence today is about forgetting your words. Use this when your brain suddenly stops working. Listen and repeat. My mind just completely went blank.
My mind just completely went blank.
Moving on to the second one. Use this phrase when you are doing a terrible task and just want to finish it fast. Here we go. I just wanted to get it over with.
I just wanted to get it over with.
And our final expression is about losing someone's attention. Say this when people stop listening to you. Listen and repeat. The audience was completely checked out.
The audience was completely checked out.
Great job today. Let us wrap things up with some final thoughts. To wrap up today, remember that you do not need big words to be a good speaker. Simple, honest English is always the best choice.
Exactly. We know learning a language takes time. Some days will feel slow, but every time you practice, you are moving forward. Stay consistent, stay curious, and trust the process.
Please hit the like button for us. It takes 2 seconds and genuinely helps the channel reach more learners just like you. Please subscribe for new episodes every week.
Tell us in the comments, what do you do when you feel nervous? Thank you for your time today. Click on the next video to keep leveling up your English.